Shalom WJC family. It is time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in Shul we will read Parshat Vayehi, the last Parsha, the last Torah portion in the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit. And as we bring a close to the book of Bereshit, we also bring to a close the life of our patriarch Yaakov, Jacob. We know Jacob, the end of his life is very important. Jacob is also known as Israel. The Jewish people are known as Bnei Yisrael. So it's worth exploring what was so special about Jacob's life. Now, it's notable that Jacob's life ends in a parsha called Vayehi, and he lived. There are a few cases of this in the Torah. Jacob's gets Vayehi, Sarah gets Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, in both cases as they are reporting the deaths of this important matriarch and this important patriarch. So the question is, why? Why would it be that in the Parsha reporting on the death of a person, it continues on and says, and he lived, Vayehi. And the answer we find is in what Jacob does at the end of his life, how he continues on in Parshat Vayehi. A couple of sources actually I saw noted in the JTS Devar Torah that came out today, speaking with my colleague Rabbi Joshua Ben Giddon. He also noted Jacob goes about blessing his children. Now, he's not the first one to do so, but notably, Abraham does not bless his children. At least it's not reported to us. Isaac and Ishmael do not get a blessing. Ishmael ends up in exile. Isaac ends up with, let's say, a strained relationship with God, maybe not because he didn't get a blessing, but because of the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac when he was nearly sacrificed in the name of God. But we know Isaac never speaks with God again, doesn't have communication with God again. Isaac blesses his children, but as his intention, even though Jacob fools him into blessing him instead of Esau, it was not his intention to bless them together. Here we have Yaakov gathers all of his children together and blesses them all at once. He shares their blessings before each of them. There's something about the passage of a blessing that gives a certain sense of immortality. And maybe this has just been on my mind because we've had a raft of funerals in the congregation this week, and we hope that everyone is feeling comforted who had losses this week, but also that everyone's feeling the blessings of their loved ones as they continue on, because they were given in life. Now, this is not merely this idea from Vayehi, but we actually have a Talmudic passage from Tani that says, Rabbi Yochanan says, our father Jacob is not dead. Now, what does it mean our father Jacob is not dead? Rabbi Nachman asks him. He says, the Torah reports, Joseph prepared him, brought him back to the land of Canaan, had a big, important burial there. The Egyptians saw, gave him sort of an honor guard all the way out of Egypt to Canaan so that Jacob could be buried in Canaan. And what does Rabbi Yochanan say? He says, as Jacob's children are alive, so too is Jacob alive. Right? As Bnei Yisrael thrives on, so too Jacob thrives on. It's a lesson for us that's very important. Not only that we have a blessing to pass to our children, right? We are in the line of Jacob and his children and their children, bringing that blessing forward all the way until today. But our job is to pass that blessing on to the next generation. And what makes Jacob special, right? Abraham's the first one to talk to God. We're not called B'nai Abraham. Isaac, with his devotion to God, we're not called B'nai Yitzchak. We're called B'nai Yaakov. We're called the children of Jacob. And the reason seems to be because of this idea of passing, not because Jacob was perfect, not because he was the first, not because he was the most devout. In fact, we could make arguments that none of those things are true. But Jacob, we're B'nai Yisrael because Jacob concentrated on passing his blessing forward to all of his children, and therefore his children become the tribes. We are the descendants of them, spiritually as well as with those familial ties. And so, as we bring Bereshit to a close with the phrase that we use to end every book of the Torah, Chazak, Chazak v'nit chazek, in strength and with strength, and may we go forward in strength. So too we wish for the blessing that Jacob starts in this chapter, Vayehi, that gives him that eternal life, that eternal link that we are attached to in our lives, but that don't end with us, that don't culminate with us, but that we are tasked with to move forward, that we can have that same integrity, that we can give that gift to all of our children, and so too being a link in a chain of passing that blessing, that they should feel the blessing, that our grandchildren should feel that blessing, and so forth, generations forward. And as such, Vayehi Yaakov, Jacob will continue to live, but also Vayehi Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, the children of Israel, will continue to live. May we go forward in strength and with strength, and may we be renewed in strength, even as we start this new secular year ahead. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom and many blessings.